Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 19b. The last words of the previous Amud were, or are, Amar Le, Rav Chizda lo teder bach. Rav Chizda said to Rav Huna, do not retract your statement. And now we're on top of 19b with the words De'im Kain. De'im Kain, Nisantet ala lekayim asa, host my time and the komachshalt, Dechinaf chayuta, Bechshero, konafko, hochonami, Kinaf chayus, begalam makanafko. As if you retract your statement, you repudiate the first ruling that you stated with regard to a case where one diverted the knife and cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 1/3 properly, and then diverted the cut and cut the final 1/3. There, what is the reason that you deemed the slaughter valid? The reason is that when life left the animal with the cutting of the second third of the windpipe, it left the animal in the course of valid slaughter. Based on that reasoning here too, when the life left the animal with the cutting of the second third of the windpipe, it left the animal in the course of diverting the knife, and the slaughter is invalid. Ikla Rav Nachman Lesura Be'omine Shochat Shlish Vigrim Shlish V'Shochat Shlish Mahu Amar Lehu Lav Hainu De Rabbi Lozo Ben Bar Minyome De Rabbi Lozo Bar Minyome Shchita Zuyav Kemasre Keshero. Rav Nachman happened to come to Surah when they asked him if one cut 1/3 of the windpipe properly, and then diverted the knife and cut 1/3, and then cut the final 1/3 of the windpipe properly, what is the halacha? He said to them, isn't that the halacha stated by Rabbi Elazar ben Bar Minyomi? As Rabbi Elazar Bar Minyomi says, slaughter that is performed like the teeth of a comb, which are jagged, is valid. V'dilba b'mkom shchita ma'ile meimra mahu d'teima b'inan shchita mofras v'leka kavash manon. The Gemara objects, and perhaps Rabbi Elazar Bar Minyomi stated this halacha only when the slaughter goes up and down within the proper place of slaughter. The Gemara asks in response, within the proper place of slaughter, what is the purpose of stating it? Clearly, the slaughter is valid in that case. The Gemara explains, lest you say that we require slaughter that is clear and straight, and slaughter that is jagged is not straight. Therefore, Rabbi Elazar Bar Minyomi teaches us that nevertheless the slaughter is valid. Siman Bakad. The Gemara cites a mnemonic for the order of the sages in the following discussion. Bet for Rabbi Abba, Kaf for Kahana, Dalet for Yehuda. Yasiv Rav Abba Chored Rav Kahana, Yasiv Rav Kahana Kamed Rav Yehuda, Yasiv Bekomar. Shochat Shlish Vigrim Shlish, Shochat Shlish Mahu, Amar Le Shchita So Keshecha. Rabbi Abba sat behind Rav Kahana, and Rav Kahana sat before Rav Yehuda. And he sat, and he said, I always wondered, why is it saying, if it says they sat before this person, and why does it say many times, and they sat and said? Why the redundancy? I never got that. I mean, if it's in the Chumash, sometimes in the Torah, sometimes there's redundancies, but those are to teach something. But it doesn't seem that there should be any need to do that here. So why would there need to? Why it says? Listen to the language here. Rav Ava sat behind Rav Kahana, and he sat and said. Rav Kahana sat before Yehuda, and he sat and said. Why? Why? And he sat and said. Okay. If anyone has any answers, I'd be curious. Open ears. And he sat and said for Yehuda, and one cut 1/3 of the windpipe properly, and then diverted the knife and cut 1/3. And then cut the final 1/3 of the windpipe properly. What is the halacha? Rabbi Yehuda said to Rav Kahana, his slaughter is valid. Higrim shlish, v'shagat shlish, higrim shlish mahu. Amar le, shchitas psulo. Rav Kahana then asked, if one diverted the knife and cut 1/3 of the windpipe, and then cut 1/3 properly, and then diverted and cut the final 1/3, what is the halacha? Rabbi Yehuda said to him, his slaughter is not valid. Rav Kahana then asked, if one cut in a place where there was a perforation in the front of the windpipe and continued cutting, what is the halacha? Rabbi Yehuda said to him, his slaughter is valid. Rav Kahana further asked, if one cut the windpipe and after cutting half the windpipe encountered a perforation, after which point a majority of the windpipe had been cut, what is the halacha? Rabbi Yehuda said to him, his slaughter is invalid. Rabbi Abba Amra Kamed Rabbi Lozo. Azar Rabbi Lozo Amil Kamed Rabbi Yochanan Amile Maishna. Rabbi Abba went to Yisrael and stated his halachas in the presence of Rabbi Elazar. And Rabbi Elazar went and stated the halachas in the presence of Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan said to him, what is different about a case where one cut in a place where there was a perforation relative to a case where he encountered a perforation in the middle of slaughter? Amar leishchad b'makom nekev nasa kami sheshad goy. V'gamar Yisrael shachad u'paga bo nekev nasa kami sheshad Yisrael v'gamar goy. V'gamar le goy. Rabbi Elazar said to him, in a case where one cut in a place where there was a perforation, it becomes like an animal that a Gentile began to slaughter and a Jew completed the slaughter, in which case the slaughter is valid. In a case where one cut the windpipe and encountered a perforation, it becomes like an animal that a Jew began to slaughter and a Gentile completed its slaughter, in which case the slaughter is not valid. Rabbi Yochanan mockingly proclaimed about him, Gentile, meaning you merely repeat something about Gentiles. Rabbi Yochanan did not accept the distinction. Goy. Goy plus goy equals Jew. Because goy is 19, and goy is 19 in Hebrew gematria, and Jew is 38 in English gematria. Goy plus goy equals Jew. Two goyim make one Jew. Terach and his wife are two goyim, and they made out of one Jew. Amar Rabbi Shabbat Kari Amri Goy. Bishlam Hasam Nimahavilei Nisrael Mishchat Ruba Lo Shachat Gi Navka Chiusa Bidang Goy Navka Elacha Mirte Mishchat Shachid Lamali Bimkom Nekev Mali Baga Bo Nekev. Rava said Rabbi Yochanan did well when he proclaimed about him Gentile. Granted, there, in the case where the Gentile completed the slaughter, since a Jew was supposed to cut a majority of the windpipe, and he did not cut it, when life left the animal, it left by the hand of a Gentile, but here, after all, he was the one who slaughtered the entire animal, and the animal was not a treifa until this point. And so a difference is there to me if one began to cut in a place where there was a perforation. And what difference is there to me if he encountered a perforation? That's the end of the Gemara. Now it's going to Mishnah. Zaktenu Mishneh, Ashaychem min Asdodim, Shchitas Ekshecham. Hamoylek min Asdodim, Nikas Psula, Ashaychem min Oiref. Shchitas Psula. Hamoylek min Oiref, Nikas Ekshecham. Ashaychem min Atzavol, Shchitas Ekshecham. Hamoylek min Atzavol, Nikas Psula. Shekol Oirev Kosher Maliko. Cholatzava kshe'el b'shchita. Nimsa kasha b'shchita. Pasul b'melika. Kasha b'melika. Pasul b'shchita. One who slaughters from the sides of the throat, his slaughter is valid. One who pinches the neck of a bird offering from the sides, his pinching is not valid. One who slaughters from the nape of the neck, his slaughter is not valid. One who pinches a bird offering from the nape of the neck, his pinching is valid. One who slaughters from the throat, his slaughter is valid. One who pinches a bird offering from the throat, his pinching is not valid. As the entire nape is valid for pinching, and the entire throat is valid for slaughter, it is found that which is valid for slaughter is not valid for pinching. And that which is valid for pinching is not valid for slaughter. Zog de Gemore. My oiref. Ile moiref mamish. My ere shoichet. Afilu moilik nami. Mimul oboy. Amar achmanhem. Veloi arpo. Ela my oiref. Mimul oiref. Kidiktani Sofer kol oiref kosher amalike. With regard to the statement in the Mishnah, one who slaughters an animal from the oref, its slaughter is not valid. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of oref? If we say that the reference is to the actual occipital bone at the rear of the skull, why does this halakha apply specifically to one who slaughters from the oref? Even if one pinches a bird offering from the oref, it would also not be valid, as the merciful one states, pinch off its head adjacent to its oref, Leviticus 5:8, at the nape beneath the occipital bone, and not its oref. Rather, what is the oref mentioned in the Mishnah? It is adjacent to the oref, the back of the neck below the occipital bone. As it is taught in the letter clause of the Mishnah, the entire nape is valid for pinching. Priete moer hoeveel in een hegel. Die niet amul die de hega tashma ki pano ele oiref. Veloi ponim. Michra oiref le hadi ponim. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? They are derived, as the sages taught in the Brisa. In the phrase adjacent to, its oref, adjacent means a place that sees the oref, and not the oref itself. And likewise the verse states, and they reside adjacent to me, in Numbers 22, verse 5. It's in Parshas Balak, I think. Yeah. And the verse states, for they have turned their oref unto me, and not their face. Jeremiah 2:27. The Gemara asks, what is added by the latter proof introduced with the term and the verse states? The Gemara answers, and if you would say, we do not know where the oref itself is, so that we will know where adjacent to it is, come in here. For they have turned their oref unto me, and not their face, from which it may be ascertained by inference that the oref is opposite the face at the rear of the head. Amri b'nei Rabbi Chiya. Mitzvahs meliko machzir simonim lachoyer oiref moilek. Ika di amri af machzir vika di amri machzir davka. The sons of Rabbi Chiya say, how is the mitzvah of pinching a bird offering performed? One moves the two simonim that must be served in ritual slaughter, meaning the windpipe and the gullet behind the nape, and pinches. There is a dispute among the sages with regard to the meaning of the statement. There are those who say the mitzvah ab initio is to pinch through the spinal column first, and then pinch the windpipe and the gullet. And one may even move the simanim to behind the nape and pinch. And there are those who say the mitzvah is specifically to move the simanim behind the nape and pinch. Umistavra command Omar af machzir mimai. Die dikton is shechet min oirech. Shchita se psula moilik min oirech min likos ekshero. The Gemara notes, and it is reasonable according to the one who says one may even move the simanim behind the nape. From where does one draw that conclusion? It is from the fact that the Mishnah teaches one who slaughters from the nape of the neck, his slaughter is not valid. One who pinches from the nape of the neck, his pinching is valid.